the engineering team will have a dashboard. So all engineers will have a dashboard, and that will allow them to look at all the various opportunities, projects, and tasks they are assigned to. So just to get to the right dashboard for engineers, I'm going to pull up a dashboard for James Coker, who is an engineer here in Hoboken. This dashboard may change, so it's an evolution. We're sort of tweaking things to make this dashboard more useful. But overall, what I wanted to show was in Salesforce, you'll have the opportunity to see all the projects that are assigned to you as well as tasks. So let's just start with saying, okay, some tasks are assigned to me. I see it in the dashboard. I'm going to click on this report, and now I can see all the various new projects that are coming my way. And the very first thing that happens is when a project is inputted into our system and the salesperson needs a preliminary drawing from the engineering team and preliminary assessment, a task will be assigned to the engineer automatically to do a preliminary drawing. And that task is captured in this report. So for James, we can see we have 3 opportunities that need pre-closed drawings. One is this preferred freezer project, one is called the Middle Peace River, and the third one is Middlesex House of Corrections. So I'm just going to click on one of these to take a look at the opportunity record. Now, the opportunity record is effectively where all the project information is housed and is where we spend the majority of our time in Salesforce. So I think I introduced this during the drawing call, but we'll go into more detail here. In the opportunity, at the very top, we have some high-level information on the opportunity. We have the LJ number, which is the unique identifier for the project. We have the name of the opportunity. We also have the account name. This is our customer. If for whatever reason you wanted to look at the customer record, you can click on this customer link right here. This is helpful for you if you wanted to say, hey, I want to look at more information on the customer, and I want to see all the opportunities associated with the customer. This is a nice high-level way to look at the customer record and all related records to the customer. So various customer contacts, who is assigned to this customer account. So in this particular case, Eric Bergman is the commercial account manager. That's the sales rep. James Coker is the application engineer lead. So typically what will happen is Prarit or I might assign you to a particular customer, as we like to have a rapport with our customers. For large SCADA projects, this might change a little bit depending on availability and expertise. But generally, once you have a certain relationship with the client, we'll try to maintain that relationship and just assign you as the primary engineer for that account. Here, we also have various contact information for the actual customer. So these are persons at Intersolar, their titles, their email addresses, phone numbers. This list is usually maintained by the sales rep, but you could always feel free to add new contacts if you'd like. But this is not really our core competency. Down here, we can see all the opportunities, both most recent and historical. For a lot of Salesforce information, you'll get sort of a little bit of a preview in these workspaces, and then you have to click Go to List to look at the full list of records. So for example, for Intersolar, we can look at all the opportunities, both open, closed, and ongoing. And we'll talk a little bit about what that means in a second. But that's the account record at a high level. There's all sorts of other records associated with it, but we won't get into those right now. So going back to the opportunity, we also have the overall system size. This is helpful for the sales reps and for us. Obviously, there is a risk assessment metric. Nothing to worry about for you right now. This is more of a sales metric. A lot of these are for sales. This particular close date is when the salesperson expects the sale to be made. just to get a general sense of the project timeline. And the reason that this is important is opportunities can be at various stages. So stages can be 1 through 5. And let's look at the various stages. So stage 1 is discovery. So this is what happens when the sales rep initially creates the opportunity. They will have some sort of RFP from the customer. It might just purely be budgetary. They might not have a lot of information, so they just create this opportunity of record. They put together a quote and just keep track of this particular project. Once the actual opportunity is at a stage where the sales rep wants to put together a more formal proposal, they will change the stage to the proposal stage, and at this point in time, do engineers usually get involved. So at the discovery stage, it's a little too early for engineering work to be done. It's usually just kind of a framework and shell, placeholder, if you will. And then when the stage is changed to proposal, we start to create drawings. We start to review this design with the customer in more detail. Negotiation is just another step after proposal. After the proposal is made, usually there's kind of a limbo period for the sales rep to finally close out the opportunity. So there's negotiation and waiting PO, but there's really no distinction for us on the engineering side. That's mostly sales. Stage 5 happens when we actually receive PO from the client and the project is closed. From that point on, the actual project schedule is enacted. Usually for typical data acquisition systems that do not require controls, this means that we will ship hardware within 10 to 15 business days, and then the client is at their leisure going to install the project. And then we'll do remote commissioning and support later on. And of course, in the event that we don't get the opportunity, we lose it to a competitor or the bid falls through, we can lose it, and then there's a duplicate stage as well. But both of those don't really involve us. So with this sort of high-level opportunity detail, does anybody have any questions?
No.
Okay, great. And the opportunity owner, this is the sales rep. So this is the person who created the opportunity. It's usually a business development person, or it could be the account manager. So if we have an existing relationship with the customer, usually we have a person for that customer. If it's a new inbound opportunity, that's when a business development person will be involved. So there's a slight distinction on the sales side, but for us, it really is not a big deal. They're both just sales reps. Okay. We also have some shipping details. This is all the scope of the sales rep when they create the opportunity, so we should not be editing any of these fields. This, of course, is helpful for us when we eventually ship hardware. There's also this memo section. Now, the memo section is kind of free-flowing right now, but this is really where, especially in terms of a technical offering, the opportunity should be well summarized. So there are two fields here, notes and project scope. They're somewhat interchangeable, but in the project scope, the sales rep should be able to say, generally, what are the hardware products we're providing? What are we monitoring? What is the technology on site? Okay, so here you have an example. And of course, we spoke about this before when we went over drawings, as this is a very nice way for you to get quick insight as to what the drawing and networking diagram will look like before you start to look closer into the various products, which we'll look at in a second. Contract information, this is just where our contract manufacturer is going to be working off of. We have really 3 main contract manufacturers right now. Only one of them is relevant to us. So DST Controls is our panel shop out in Benicia, California. Silpesh, I think you visited them last week. And Suresh, I think for the time being, it's still planned for us to ship hardware from California and ship to India. So all of that is built by DST. They're very knowledgeable. Obviously, they know our products well. We have various base product packages with them. So usually when we put sales order together, we have a set report of how that needs to look like for them to start building and shipping. We also have 2 other shipping locations which are more related to enterprise work and don't really affect commercial and utility projects. Those are Keytronics and ACI. Those particular shipping centers just ship our L-Gate 320, 120 hardware. That's kind of the small inline socket meter that you guys might have some limited exposure to.
Okay. Daniel, one question over here.
Yep.
If suppose if required, can somewhere we can see the the account manager or engineer of DST controls for a specific project if we need to get in touch with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. So there's actually a whole process once the opportunity is closed and the sales order is created, where we have the opportunity to speak with DST and who's doing the fulfillment there. Generally, we do have a main point of contact. His name is Brian Irving. I can send you his email, but usually if you have an inbound project or have any questions, you can ask him. But usually it's best if you just direct your questions to Kurt or myself, unless it's related to a specific project, in which case most of that should be handled through the opportunity, and you'll see why in a second here. Okay. There's also some workflow tracking items. These are just things that happen as the opportunity progresses. We'll talk about these in a little bit, but generally most of the sales reps will input most of this information. There's also this AE approval section. This is more of a management approval for a particular project if it has very a lot of complexity or is SCADA related. For India, I don't think this particular method is going to be employed. Silpesh will definitely cover this in a different meeting, but I think we'll skip over it for now. 90% of the projects we put together don't need prior approval before a quote is sent out to the customer. Generally, the sales rep will just get direct feedback from the assigned engineer, and that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. There's some additional information here. It's mostly, this is really all placeholder, so you can ignore additional information, sales order information. You'll see exactly why this is not so important in a minute here. So this is a very preliminary project. Let's look at a project when it actually has closed. So right now, because this project is not closed, the engineer will really only do a drawing. Once the drawing is completed, they'll upload it to the project folder on Box, and then the sales rep will take that drawing and send that drawing along with the quote to the customer.
Okay.
And now, since I mentioned it, before we get too much further, again, Box is our file repository system. It is separate from SalesForce right now, but it's where we house all of our documents. So to find the Box folder for this opportunity or project, what you're going to want to do is go to box.com or box.net, log in, and then again you could just search by this LJ number, and you should be able to find the specific project folder. Project folders live under PAM, Projects and Proposals, Projects, LJ. This is our new opportunity record system. And so everything is listed by LJ. You can just skip all of this just by typing in the LJ number, and you should be able to pull up the appropriate project folder. The project folder has various subfolders. Most of them are pretty self-explanatory. There's no automation of the documents in these folders right now, so it's somewhat flexible what you can put where, but generally all of our DAS and SCADA drawings should go under Controls and DAS. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So once that's completed, let's say I finished this task. I uploaded the drawing to Box. what I can do now is in the open activity section where this task is listed, I can just click close. So there's a close button, click close. It'll bring up the actual task. The status will be automatically filled out as completed, and then you can save it. And then the sales rep will get an email notification to let them know that the drawing is finished. You can now find the drawing on Box. Okay?
Okay. Daniel, can you show me once again where to do this?
Show the task being closed or the box?
Yes, yes, closing.
Okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, absolutely. So if I were to, once the activity is completed, it actually moves from open activities to activity history.
Okay.
So let me actually go back here. I can actually make it not started again, and it should go back to open activities here at the bottom. So once you find the open activity that you've completed, you'll want to click this CLS button.
Okay.
The appropriate task. The tasks are listed by, subject. So this pre-closed drawing, that's what it involves. There are other types of tasks we'll talk about in a second. But once this is closed, I'm going to click CLS. It brings up the actual task record, and then all I need to do is click Save.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
And then you'll move, again, you'll see that task move from open activities to activity history. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
All right, so the next step.
I have a question over here. So like several times, like based on the customer inputs, we update the drawings. Okay. So like in India, in several projects, like there is a change in scope and all those things.
Yes.
So whenever we make that change in SalesForce, I am able to see an update on the top, like basically on the terms of like if there is a change in the price, okay, of the project. But similarly in the box, then does it maintain a version history? If required, like at a later stage, I can go and I can check some version.
Yeah. So usually right now, when we have revisions and iterations on the design, it's not tracked in SalesForce automatically. Usually it's just communicated organically between the sales rep and the applications engineer. So this is actually a good segue to an important topic. Apart from Slack, which both of you guys use, you also have something called Chatter, which is a tool we're beginning to use a lot. And what Chatter is effectively like a message board on the opportunity, where I could say, hey, Eric, you don't need to tell them that the drawings are unboxed. That should be done automatically. But if you say, hey, Eric, I don't understand this project, or this project requires revisions, you can begin to have a feed of communication here. And it's very helpful just because that way it's all tied with the same opportunity. So if you require a revision or you have some updated information that you've added to the opportunity that you just want to explain, you can always use Chatter and then tag the person that you think is relevant. So usually I'd say for sales reps, it's very common for them to chatter to us or tag us to say the client reviewed the drawings and they'd like a slight change in design. If there's any change in design, Sulpash, that affects you a little bit more, and Suresh, this affects you a little bit, but usually whoever is responsible for updating the opportunity should update the opportunity first, and then the person doing the drawing will work off the opportunity. So there's a little bit of there's like a scope of work here, right? That responsibility.
Right.
The sales rep, especially when the project is still open and hasn't closed, the sales rep is responsible for making sure the opportunity of record is accurate. Once that opportunity is accurate, only then will the engineer work on it from a design perspective, because what we want to avoid is, the sales rep will only put in half the information, then the engineer will begin to work on it, and then the engineer will notice that there's an issue, and then there's a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of wasted time. So generally, there are set duties and responsibilities, and the sales rep, if the sale has not been made, is responsible for making sure the opportunity is up to date. And then we'll notify the engineer that they can begin work.
Okay.
Okay? A great question.
Okay.
It's something we're definitely beginning to improve upon more and more, but generally it happens a little organically. If you have any revisions to your drawings, what I would say is do keep records of all your revisions. You don't necessarily need to overwrite the existing drawing. Sometimes this is helpful. So, for example, if I look at a project that I'm working on called Eastman Chemicals, we'll find that there are various drawing revisions on the control side. So if I go to drawings, controls, and DAFs, you'll see that there are quite a lot of revisions. And I started these drawings in June and did some updates in July and finally in August. And now we've closed the opportunity. So I'll probably do one more revision before the hardware gets shipped, and we'll talk about that in a second. So once the actual opportunity is closed, then the engineer gets involved again. And this is where the engineer really begins to own the project. Obviously, the sales rep has done his job. The sale has been made. And now, if the opportunity has engineering services associated with it, the engineer will begin to work on it. Okay?
Okay.
So let's see here. If I go back to my dashboards and I look at James's dashboard, there is a second stage here for us, what I'm calling pre-close, which is before the opportunity is closed, before the sale is made. Post-close, which is right after the opportunity is sold. There's a few things we need to do. These include, let me pull up my notepad. These include reaching out to the customer over email. We also have a design review that we would like to schedule with the customer. We have an update to our drawings. And then we also have what we call initial AE approval. So I'm going to talk about all four of these tasks right now that automatically get generated after an opportunity is closed to guide the engineer as to what are the next steps for this project. So if I go to all of my post-close tasks, I'll be able to see some of these. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to focus on one particular project, Eastman Chemicals, which happens to be my project along with James. So if I pull that up, I scroll down again to the open activities. You'll see that there are a few. Oops, I think there's a duplicate here. Let me just. I'm going to close that out. Should not need to update drawings. So there's reach out email to customer, update drawing, review design with the customer, and initial AE approval. So we'll talk about what those mean. Reach out to customer is very straightforward. We do have a template that I can share, which effectively says, hi, I'm the engineer working on your project. Here are the next steps. It looks something like that, like this. Let me pull up an example. Here, if I could find one. Here we go. So something like this. Here's just a sample. So, hi, customer. I wanted to formally let you know I will be your applications engineer here. We're currently rolling out a new commercial project management process, and you can take the following next steps. So we're going to send over some custom drawings, effectively the drawings that we did before, but we will update them. We will do a design review, and then your hardware will be fulfilled, the platform will be registered, and we'll do some remote commissioning activities such as phone support and closeout. So this is just a sample. Of course, for any kind of complex SCADA project, you will likely have had some contact with the information with the customer before. So just wanted to give you context as to why we have it. If you already have made contact, you can close out the task. And in this case, I speak to this customer quite a lot on this project already, so there's no need for additional communication. The next step here is update drawings. So update drawing, effectively what this means is after the opportunity is closed, there might have been a couple of edits by the sales rep since we did our pre-close drawings or preliminary drawings. Update drawing just means reopen the drawing and just make sure it is still accurate per the opportunity. Okay? So I've already done that. I've uploaded my updated drawing to Box. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to send it off to the customer as well, because of course they're the primary audience. Now, after the drawing has been updated, the customer's happy with that. What we'll do is, we'll schedule a design review with the customer to go over the details of our hardware. Especially if they're a new customer, this is very helpful for us. We'll just set up a WebEx. We'll go over the design of the project. We'll talk about the various components inside of it. Pretty much what you would expect from kind of a pre-commissioning training. The last step here for post-close activities are finished is what we call initial AE approval. That's this item right here. So initial AE approval, let me just close out my design review task. So initial AE approval is effectively us reviewing the opportunity one last time, putting any relevant information into it, and then actually having it be sent as a sales order to our contract manufacturer, DST. So this is what I'm going to focus on for a little bit. And I'm going to show what the interaction now is between SalesForce, which again is our main CRM, and Netsuite, which is more of our contract manufacturing point of record. Okay? So as the initial approval task, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up my drawing. Chemicals. And I'm just going to make sure, does the drawing match the opportunity one last time? And this is really most important when we're looking at the products, right? The products are exactly what we're selling as an itemized list or a BOM. It mostly includes hardware, but it can include some software. So we're just making sure that this is totally good to go. So I'm looking at various L-gate bundles. I won't go to the specifics of everything that goes into this, but generally for components that need to be configured, we'll input some configuration information. So for example, this particular M-gate requires an IP address, and I can dictate what that should be to our contract manufacturer. So to do this, what I do is I click Edit on the product, and then here, if you just write, IP address 192.1.
Daniel,
Yep.
just a moment. I think your screen is not reflecting at my end.
Oh, okay.
I'm still seeing the mouse hovering update drawing.
Sulpesh, what do you see?
Currently, I'm seeing open activities and the mouse is on update drawing.
I can see the RS-25 serial server M-gate.
Okay, it might be a latency issue, Suresh.
Wait, let me to reopen the link. Wait.
I'll let you. Yep. And what I'm doing is in Salesforce, I won't move any further. I'll just talk a little bit. So in Salesforce, what I'm doing is, in the product list, each product has various pieces of information associated with it, and there's just a configuration field that I can edit. And that's just for the engineer to convey to our contract manufacturer any specific details on the configuration. Usually this is limited to just IP address, Modbus IDs, And in the event that we're shipping a data logger, an Aqua Suite, we actually have some prefabricated configuration files that we can paste. And that way, our contract manufacturer knows to load that file. And that takes care of all the device-specific information for a logger, as you would expect. It tells the logger, which devices to communicate to, what IP address to be on, et cetera, et cetera. And I think you guys have had some training with Prairie on the Aqua Suite, so generally you should know what its capabilities are. And we could probably discuss that in a different topic.
Okay.
Suresh, can you see my screen now?
Yeah, I can see now.
Okay, great. So I'll take a step back for you. So what I did was in the opportunity, I went down to products, where we have this kind of window into what we're selling.
Yes.
I'm going to click Go to List.
Okay.
And then here's a list. Unfortunately, you need to, if it's a very long list, you need to go to next page to access everything. It's just more of an annoyance than anything. Or you can expand the list itself. But yes, just be sure that to always check to see if there's a next page. So what I'm doing is I'm identifying which hardware line items require additional configuration information per my design. So I happen to know that this M gate requires an IP address. And I'm going to input the IP as 192.168.2.90, for example. Save it. And that way our contract manufacturer knows how to configure it. I'm going to do this for all the various line items that require it. Once that is done, and I'm satisfied with the list, and I like how it matches with the drawing, I'm actually going to go back to the opportunity.
Okay.
And then I'm going to go to this workflow tracking section. So in this workflow tracking section, what I do is I go to just pretend that was not checked. I'm going to check this off. Initially approval. This means that I've done an initial review of this opportunity and it's ready for building to our contract manufacturer. Once that's done, I'm going to click Save.
Okay.
And then I need to actually sync it to Netsuite, which we'll talk about in a second here. So again, Netsuite is the portal for our contract manufacturer. So I need to click Sales Order, and it's going to start to sync to Netsuite.
Okay.
All right, and you'll see this pop up.
I have a few questions over here. Okay. This code, like as we work on AquaSuite, okay, so like there are some MBT files which we create. So do we need to send those MBT files to DST control so that like they can put it on the device before shipping?
Yeah, yeah. So for the Aqua Suite, what it is, it's not just one particular file. It happens to be a system configuration folder.
Yes, yes.
And internally, but it's a little bit of a misnomer. We have a repository of these files that are on box under DST.
Okay.
There's a folder called Verify INI Files 2. We actually had our original one deleted, so this was our backup, and we just renamed it something else. But here you'll see all the various configuration files for the Aqua Suite. And again, this is just our way of being able to specifically tell our contract manufacturer how the Aqua Suite can be configured, because they could just drag and drop this set of folders into the Aqua Suite FTP, and it'll configure everything for us. So there's quite a lot of things here. We don't need to get into all of them, but it contains IP address information, specific Modbus information for specific device types. How many of those device types do we have? What are the Modbus addresses, etc. Okay. So yes, we have a way of giving DST those files, and it's just through this file repository system. So once the file is uploaded to this box folder, all you need to do is copy this file name,
Okay.
put it in that configuration field. So again, just as an example, if I wanted to find the AquaSuite related here, I go to Products, and then I'll go to, let me find my AquaSuite. This is there's quite a number of enclosures here, so it might be towards the bottom. Here we go. So here's my AquaSuite. I'm going to click Edit, paste that in there, click Save. Again, go back to the opportunity. You might want to open up multiple tabs. It could be easier for you. And then click Sales Order. And then that information will sync to Netsuite. Now, Netsuite is a little bit of a legacy system. I think you will both definitely get access to it, but it might be just a little bit. Netsuite, everything is tracked not by LJ number, but by LES number, which is Locus Energy Sales Order. So to find the sales order from the opportunity, what you're going to want to do is scroll down the sales order and just search by that sales order number. So I'm going to type in sales order into the search bar field here. And here's the sales order that DST will be working off of. And again, this should be a mirror of the opportunity. Everything gets changed in the opportunity and then synced here. Nothing should be edited directly on this document itself. But you'll notice that IP address that I had inputted before is here. And if the sync completed, the AquaSuite configuration information should also be here. I think we're just waiting on, it might need to sync again. But let me just show you that. So if I saved it and then clicked sales order, it will sync. And if I refresh this page after a minute, you'll see that configuration file for the AquaSuite line item. This one. Okay?
Okay.
All right. So there's a little bit of a learning curve to understand which devices need configuration information, how do they need to be ordered, obviously the product line items themselves, but you know, we'll all cover that in time. But generally just wanted to show you this interaction. Now, once DST has it, they're going to try to meet or beat the scheduled ship dates, which again is something you should be able to look up on the opportunity too. So here's the scheduled ship date. Generally, the rule of thumb is, and the task should help you with this, DST needs to see this in their queue at least 15 business days from ship date for them to be able to make the ship date on time. Okay? For SCADA projects with RTACs and very complex networking, this might be a little longer, but generally your standard business, standard hardware lead times are 15 business days. So as long as we get that into DST's hands 15 business days ahead of time, we're good. In some cases, we're fine doing 10 business days, but really we don't want to exceed less than 10 business days for them to build this out correctly. In addition, you know, while DST builds this out, they will also send what is called a QA doc. Now this lives a little bit outside of our CRM, but the QA doc is effectively our it's just a little fulfillment document that they fill out so that we can review it before it gets shipped. Now, the engineers don't do this for every single project. We actually have a separate team that does QA. But if you're interested in seeing what this looks like, and especially if it's a very complex project, you might be the one who looks at this and approves it in our system. But again, I wouldn't worry about it too much right now. I just want to expose it to you. So this QA doc has all the same information that was in Netsuite, the LES number, the partner, which is the equivalent of the account or customer, project name, MAC address of the AquaSuite, the INI file of the AquaSuite. All this information is loaded and recorded. They have various checkboxes to say, did they check network configuration, or all the wiring done correctly? And then they'll actually take some pictures of the panel for us to review and just make sure everything looks as it should be. Once this is good to go, we would approve it in Netsuite by clicking this approval button. But again, this is not your scope of work for right now. Let our separate team handle this. And you might get involved if it's a very complex project down the road. Now, this is a great opportunity for you if you have any specific requirements, maybe that weren't captured well in NetSuite and perhaps were missed, that you noticed in the document, for you to email DST directly via this email thread. So Suresh, just to clarify, you can definitely email DST on a particular project before we get this QA doc. Usually this QA doc is received maybe a couple of days before ship date.
Okay.
But this is a good opportunity for you to work off of that. And if you do need to reference something with DST, you always want to use the LES number because that's the one they have access to. Okay?
Okay. Daniel, I have one more question over here. Can you go to SalesForce?
Yes. I'm in SalesForce.
And now, where we add items section, where if you can go to?
Yes. So for you, it's going to be important to learn how to add items. Usually, again, Silpesh, for your benefit, that's usually the sales rep's responsibility, but India is a little different. The way you want to add items,
Yes.
here, I actually do it so infrequent that I'm not used to it. So I believe
so I was having a question over here. Suppose if I have to add one more item over here, and if that item is not listed in the drop down, then how we can get it?
So if it's not an item in our CRM, we either need to have our operations team add it as an item, or in some cases we input a miscellaneous line item. So if we know we're going to be selling it quite frequently, we should go through the work to have it added as a proper line item with standard pricing. If it's a one-time thing, we might add a miscellaneous line item. But this is where the confusion is. DST needs to know what that is, right? Where the communication comes into play. So I would work with Prairie on specifically what product you guys are going to be selling and whether that should be a miscellaneous line item or whether our operation team should be involved.
Okay.
But yes, whenever you need to add products, usually it goes by this list. You find the product that you're looking for. If you're good with this, which I'm not, you'll know exactly what the line item is. But as an example, I want to add some CTs. I select that, and then I would click select up here, and that'll get added to the list, which can be rearranged and edited within that product section. So it's a little bulky, to be honest. I think the sales reps are trying to streamline this a little bit, but this is how SalesForce operates right now.
Okay.
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 All right. Silpesh, sorry. Did you have any questions on SalesForce, NetSuite, this whole process? Obviously, this is kind of a lot.
It's pretty straightforward. I mean, I just want maybe you can have a separate call on this, how to get the configuration files and then the IP addresses.
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have a separate call just on hardware configuration information and how that ties into what we need to tell DST.
Sure.
We'll have a separate call on that.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Great. Suresh, any other questions on your side? What I'll probably do by the end of today is send you a link to both of your dashboards, work in progress, but you should be able to see all your tasks that way. Suresh, that'll be helpful for you. I know Prairie might be assigning you things, and Silpesh, the few drawings that I've just sent your way for practice, those would show up there as well.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Thanks, David.
Great. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good evening and have a good rest of your morning, respectively.
Okay. Okay.